What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are going to be unboxing the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge. If you've been living under a rock, this is Samsung's new super slim flagship smartphone. It isn't replacing anything in the S series lineup, at least not yet. It's just one more option. And it also isn't the revival of the curvy waterfall screens from previous Samsung Edge devices. Instead, this S25 Edge offers a new, unique form factor that emphasizes thinness and minimal weight without many compromises. Not no compromises, mind you, but arguably very few compromises, all things considered. Now, Samsung fully unveiled this phone about a week ago, and I got some brief hands-on time with it then, but now I've got my own here, and I'm going to dive a little deeper into some of my thoughts, do some comparisons with the other S-series phones, and I'll fill you in on all the other important things you need to know. But first things first, let's just quickly unbox it, and you can actually see right away here how Samsung is emphasizing this phone's thin profile. Sliding off the lid, the first thing you get is the phone itself, so you immediately get to feel that new form factor. As far as everything else, there's nothing in the bottom half of the box, but inside the lid, you can yank out that familiar Samsung stamped cardboard packet that contains the included accessories. There's a stack of paperwork with some instructions, a USB-C charge cable, and a SIM ejector tool. Nothing else beyond that, and no surprises here as far as the unboxing experience. So we'll get this new phone fully unwrapped and powered on here, and the first thing I should mention is the price. This new S25 Edge starts at $1,099 for the 256GB configuration. That puts it about $100 more than the S25 Plus, and a couple $100 cheaper still than the S25 Ultra. At the moment, Samsung is actually running a pre-order promotion which affords you a free storage upgrade, so you wind up with the 512GB model for the same $1,099. That'll only last up until May 30th, so if you want to take advantage of that deal or the elevated trade-in offers Samsung has for your old phone, I'll leave some links in the video description below for you. But yeah, this new S25 Edge is on the pricier side within the now 4-phone S-series lineup, though when you look at the big picture, I think this makes sense since this phone most closely resembles the S25 Plus, and that's what it's priced most closely to. I mean, from the front, it looks exactly like the S25 Plus. This S25 Edge is 6.7 inches, the same size as the Plus, and you get the exact same screen-to-body ratio. The darker blue color of my S25 Plus makes the bezels stand out a little more, but the S25 Edge is the same big screen Samsung smartphone. The defining characteristic of the S25 Edge, of course, is its thinness. It's about 5.8 millimeters thin, to be precise. That doesn't include its camera module, but that makes it about 1.5 millimeters slimmer than the regular S25 and S25 Plus, and a much more noticeable nearly 2.5 millimeters thinner than the chunky S25 Ultra. Its thinner profile also allows it to be lighter. In the hand, it's 27 grams lighter than its similarly sized S25 Plus brethren, and altogether, I know we're talking about literal millimeters and grams, but when you actually pick up and hold this S25 Edge, it does feel like a noticeably thinner and lighter smartphone. To give you a better sense of its size, it's barely thicker than the 5G antenna cover that's found on the sides of all of the S-series phones, and the S25 Edge actually is exactly the same thickness as the Ultra's S Pen. I thought that was a neat visual. Samsung says that this slimmer, lighter design is intended to make the smartphone less noticeable, less impactful, less of an object in one's day-to-day life. It's supposed to be easier to hold, more comfortable in your pocket, and a minimization of something we all carry and manhandle all hours of the day. It's an interesting idea, and I would also just say that if you're skeptical or are still unsure if it's really that much thinner than your current phone, go grab a display model from your local Best Buy or carrier store and play around with it. I truly didn't think this S25 Edge would look or feel that different from the S-series phones I've been using regularly these past few months, and I was surprised just how noticeable the new design really was. Now, what I also find compelling is that Samsung didn't take away anything from the design or build to make this phone so thin and light. In fact, it's actually made from the better materials than the standard S25. You get a Gorilla Glass glass Victus 2 back cover and all titanium frame, just like the Ultra. And arguably, the Edge looks more similar to the Ultra with its titanium metallic finish and its color choices too. You get this titanium silver, there's also titanium icy blue, which is very subtle, and titanium jet black. On the left side of the phone, there's just that 5G antenna I mentioned earlier. On the right side, the same full-sized volume and power buttons you're already familiar with, a couple microphone holes up at the top, and down below, a USB-C port flanked by a full-size bottom speaker and a physical SIM card tray. So like I said, Samsung didn't sacrifice anything here to physically make the phone any thinner. It's also still IP68 water and dust resistant, and you still have that ultrasonic in-display fingerprint sensor as an unlocking option too. So on the topic of that display, I already mentioned that its size is exactly the same as the larger S25 Plus, which is great to start with. But spec-wise, you also get one more plus feature that I think further justifies its price. The 6.7-inch screen on this S25 Edge is actually a Quad HD 3120 by 1440 resolution AMOLED. That higher resolution has for me always been a reason to jump up to the S25 Plus or the Ultra. That phone has it too. And with this new S25 Edge, I feel as though it's kind of an added bonus. It's also, of course, a 120Hz refresh rate display. It's just as bright as the other S25s as well. There's nothing special here or anything that's different, but the main thing is that Quad HD resolution option, which arguably is maybe a step up from what we might have expected. This legitimizes Samsung's no compromise tagline quite a bit, at least for me. And I also think it positions this S25 Edge further up the lineup as a premium flagship device rather than another entry-level option or substitute. The only other thing I should mention about the screen is that while the front display glass is also better than what's on the regular S25 and S25 Plus, this is a new Gorilla Glass ceramic 2 material, it's not quite the same as the S25 Ultra, mainly due to the lack of an extra anti-reflective layer, but toughness-wise, it is actually more similar to the S25 Ultra's Gorilla Armor 2 glass. Powering this S25 Edge is also the same chipset that's inside the other S25s. It's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite that's made for Galaxy, a sort of special partnership between Qualcomm and Samsung that's performance and AI focused. You'll see similar Geekbench scores to the other S-series phones. You will also get 12 gigabytes of RAM, no difference there. And along with the same software experience and update guarantees, you also get the full list of Galaxy AI features and integrations that have been so heavily showcased by Samsung over the last year or two. The only reason I mention this is because on some of the A-series phones, for example, you don't get all the Galaxy AI goodies. But again, this is not a mid-tier device. It's not any different or any lower on the totem pole than all the other S25 flagships. It's a full-spec, fully supported Galaxy AI flagship phone with the top-tier internals and software you'd expect. Once again, no compromises here, performance-wise or spec-wise or with the OS, which I would argue is the most important tidbit. I mean, this is still a Samsung smartphone after all, it's still an S-series, so it should have the most powerful components currently available. Now, I know both I and Samsung have said that this is a no-compromise phone, and up to this point, that's been absolutely true. But you know there had to be a but, and in this case, there's actually two. The first big but with the S25 Edge is something everyone has already been talking about, the battery. Crammed inside the super slim housing is a 3900 milliamp hour battery, which is, I'm sorry to say, a teeny bit smaller than the regular sized S25, and 1000 milliamp hours smaller capacity than the same sized S25 Plus. It's also not a new silicon carbon battery or anything special, just a regular old lithium-ion variety. Now, obviously, I've only just pulled this phone out of the box, so I can't speak on battery life yet. That will absolutely be what I test most with this phone in the coming weeks, but I think it's one of those things where it just sort of depends on your everyday usage. I mean, if you're staring at your phone 8 hours a day, no, this device is not going to last. But if you're a more casual user who uses the phone sparingly, or if a regular sized or smaller sized Android device has been working for you in recent years, then battery life may not be as big of a concern. Samsung gave this phone 25-watt wired charging speeds and 15-watt wireless too, so it'll charge back up fast enough anyway, and I can totally understand if the battery size is the main holdout in considering any slim phone like this one. The other smaller but, in my opinion at least, is probably something you already noticed. The S25 Edge has one less camera lens compared to all the other S25s. The one it's missing is the telephoto. You actually get a 200 megapixel main lens on this phone. That's the same as the S25 Ultra. And you of course have that very valuable 12 megapixel ultra wide shooter as well, along with a 12 megapixel selfie shooter up front that seems to be the same across the lineup. Inside the camera app, the main thing you're missing here is that ability to super zoom, or to zoom very far at all, honestly. You're capped at just 10x digital zoom, while the S25 Plus, for example, hits 30x with 3 times optical assistance for better preserved detail. Fortunately, you won't find anything else removed. You get the full selection of shooting modes, including Expert RAW, Pro Photo and Video modes, 8K video recording, and 200 megapixel and 50 megapixel photo resolutions, amongst a myriad of other things. In ditching the telephoto lens, Samsung justifies this by explaining in their research that most users just don't regularly go beyond 3x or 5x zoom, even with Samsung's well-known zooming abilities. So they figure this isn't a compromise or even a feature removal, they're just tossing something that very few people ever used. And when they put it that way, I suppose it makes sense. I don't think the lack of a dedicated telephoto lens is a huge deal compared to the other things they totally could have taken away, but didn't. Though if you want to make the argument that a $1,000 plus smartphone should have all the lenses and then some, I can support that argument too. Now, in all honesty, I think Samsung taking a risk here and launching a newly designed smartphone that's more refined, mildly interesting, but not so different than the norm, is a great move. They made a thinner smartphone without going overboard on compromises. It's still a flagship S-series phone in nearly every way, and they didn't slap a crazy high price tag on it like they did with their foldables. The big question now is, will this phone even catch on? Do you think there's any interest in a slim, thin smartphone? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.